I'm going to show you some of my favorite get to it, burn it up, glute medius exercises in side lying side kicks. Okay. Your glute med is really important for lateral stabilization of your pelvis when you're walking and frolicking about in the universe, right? So to target it, I'm going to find parallel, which if you're someone who works a lot in extreme external rotation, you know who you are. You're really going to need to work those adductors as internal rotators and oppositional muscles for those deep six and particularly that mac daddy piriformis. But glute med, as I stay in parallel, as I use the abductors, outer thigh, outer hip, glute med needs to contract enough to help keep that stability of parallel in relationship to my inner thigh. However, it also needs to help relate to my side lateral core up above it. And I'm going to take it down. Now, you can go higher than pelvis height in parallel, just not by much, and everybody's is very independent. As I go higher, I need to make sure that I sustain the lift up out of my standing leg, the side that's on the mat, instead of collapsing into my standing leg, which means my standing leg is active. It's pressing in the mat. It's lengthening. It's looking for a floor and down. Now, that might be enough to get some, but some might have to go this far as to inwardly rotate into those internal rotators, causing this eccentric work across the deep six. And now I'm going to do a little hot potato. Tap it to the front, up and up in an inverted, turned in, inwardly rotated thigh. Lift it up as high as I can, maybe a little bit higher than my pelvis. Tap it to the back. 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to take it 4 to the front. 2, 3, 4. I'm counting because it burns really bad. I only count when it burns. 3, 2, 1. 3 to the back. 2 to the front. 2 to the back. 4 singles. Up, down, up. Keep that inward rotation. Up. Bring it down. It should talk to you so very much in this region. Moving on here, I'm going to bend the knees. Now, if you wanted to go for clam everybody needs, but if you've been working those externals, then clam isn't so much about external rotation strength as it is lumbar stability. So check that out if you're working with really hypermobile, wiggly people that have great hip mobility. Make sure that it's really isolating the movement in the hip socket against the stability of the lateral body. I mean your whole core. La la la. Now, what if we take, instead of external clam, internal, kick it up, right? And find that action of the femur rotating inwards, right? And then to really target that med again, I'm going to internally rotate. Now I'm going to think of my foot kicking back up on an angle and pull the knee back. And once again, it should get so deep in there, so deep. And you don't really need a lot of them, because if you hit the angle just right, it's just burn on the first one. Right? Now, again, I said all that needs to relate to your lateral body, because this is where we are actually really teaching some great stability work, and your med's a part of that. So stretching the legs back out, my last favorite little guy to do is lift both legs, lift the waist, lift the head. What would it take to lift that arm? Bring it down. Now, you have to avoid turning out. You have to avoid that, because if you do, it's going to pull you backwards. You've got to stay in your parallel and lift the legs. Press down in that top arm. Lift the waist. Yes, my shoulders out of the mat. Lift the arm. Hold. Bring it down. So much work integrating the whole side of the body. Lift the legs. And you could do it just lifting the top leg, because that's a lot. Lift the waist, shoulder, arm. Bring it down. Now, when I come back up to standing and moving around, this whole side of me is real awake, ready to take on weight, ready for me to flip over or for it to be the standing side of the side lying work, right? Once both sides are done, there's a much better understanding of how the body holds up and helps balance out all that hypermobility we can get from whacking our legs all around.